Hello there. In this video, we're going to carry on talking about Facebook groups and distance education, how to utilize them. In this study that we're going to be focusing on is communities in Facebook groups. And in this reference, as you can see here, it was dealing with an evaluation of a community in this FB group. The viewpoints from the study. They were realizing that trends were occurring where people were joining this form of Web 2.0 tool to basically get information that they find that is useful for them. And one of the biggest things for that is people joining together in groups for several reasons, such as offline relationships. Now, these relationships that were generated could have been from families, groups that were always close together, like school friends and so forth from the past. Also, they could have made this group from job opportunities or for simple common interests and hobbies. To make a community, or in our case, a group community, we need to consider that a social networking is useful to understand and how and when users are active and the dynamics of social relationships that occurs through them. We need to define what a group community is. And it's basically dealing with a dense portion of active users tightly connected with a specific purpose, which can provide a specific service such as protecting people. And this protection can be from health, human rights, right to life, and any other prosperity that people join to feel safe in. Once groups are created, they can expand quite dramatically into giant communities. And if that ever happens, large portions of users get together and many smaller communities will orbit around these giant communities. Does it happen frequently? Well, it does if there's something viral that is actually appearing. And that does happen quite frequently. In this study, they're mentioning here and there, not quite often though. Another point that was coming from this study is they can explode in a very short period of time, these Facebook groups. And if they do, well, in all the cases from this study, there was one massive core community containing large parts of the active users in the groups. And when that happened, the core community forms at the very beginning of the history of the group and explodes in size in a very short time. And voila, you got yourself a giant community, as we mentioned earlier. Another point, attraction from smaller communities and users will join. Sometimes people feel better when there is a smaller community because they could be overwhelmed with all the material that is happening at them at once. Especially with a Facebook group, it can be powerful if it's planned properly. So after an initial quick expansion, the core community keeps growing, attracting both existing smaller communities and user new to the group. So keep in mind, what's the essential bit of this? These 5 points of communities and Facebook groups.